This 2'9" James Bond has been going viral everywhere. Even Snoop Dogg posted about him.
Previously on Wang Wang. Wang Wang was at a carnival, checking up on a snitch. What you got for me, snitch?
Well, there's a drug deal going down Tuesday.
Stop snitching, bitch. Dead.
The voice you're hearing is by the comedian Devin Clark, but the original Filipino dialogue has been lost. All we have now is the American dub, where the henchmen have these Mexican accents, or I guess this is what Americans thought Filipino sounded like in the 1980s.
Where is he, boss? And where's this Mr. Giant? I'd like to meet him. I mean, it's about time, ain't it?
But for this video, let's stick to Devin's voice. I mean, both are funny, don't get me wrong, but Devin's version is funny on purpose.
I love you, Wang Wang. Will you ever love me back?
No.
But what movie is this, and why is it going viral more than 40 years after the movie came out? And who is this tiny James Bond? This video is brought to you by the Kultura't Kasaysayan Klub. If you like Filipino film, history, and culture, join my free community. Just go to nos.io/kkkph. The film is a James Bond parody called For Your Height Only, a play on the Bond film For Your Eyes Only, which came out in the same year, but the stars were opposites in every single way. 007 is a tall, handsome British man with blue eyes and brown hair. 00 is 2'9", very Filipino looking with this long coconut hairstyle. Just to give you an idea of how small 2'9" is, the height difference between Peter Dinklage and Weng Weng is the same height difference between Shaq and Earl Boykins, one of the smallest NBA players ever. For Your Height Only is a mockbuster, a type of exploitation film that tries to ride the wave of a popular film. At the time, these were huge in the Philippines, with Dolphy making a whole career out of doing this. You had Ending the Dragon, The Good Father, Tatay Nick, which didn't really have a sinking ship but did involve a luxury cruise liner and a love interest named Rose. Why? Well, back in the 80s, it was a lot easier to get away with stuff like this. And this wasn't even the first film to parody James Bond. Dolphy made a film called James Batman 15 years earlier. It's exactly what it sounds like, a James Bond and Batman parody at the same time. But now, let's talk about the movie. If you want to watch the movie yourself and avoid all the spoilers, you can skip to this part of the video, because now, we'll run through the plot of For Your Height Only. So we meet Agent 00 as he's saving this woman's life, Lola, who some goons are trying to kill for not joining their syndicate. Eventually, they join forces to bust that syndicate, where we see a bunch of these addicts and this guy inhaling from his nostrils. And we see Agent 00's greatest asset, his height, or I guess more accurately, his lack of height. He can hide in small places, he's hard to hit, and way too fast for anyone. And they find out where the boss is. And Weng Weng uses his height again to sneak in and take out the boss. But then, Agent 00 is summoned for an important mission. A foreign scientist named Dr. Kohler is kidnapped by some goons because their boss, Mr. Giant, wants the formula for the N-bomb so he can take over the world. So Weng Weng meets with the chief, played by the James Bond of the Philippines, Tony Ferrer, who played Agent X-44, aka Tony Falcon, in the 60s and 70s. The chief gives Agent 00 a bunch of new gadgets to help him on his mission, including this poison detecting ring, a mini machine gun, a steel blade sombrero, and these super X-ray shades, which he tests out as soon as he can. Weng Weng starts his mission asking questions at this peryahan, and they didn't like that. And you know what? For this part, let's let Devin Clark take over.
Wang Wang was at a carnival, checking up on a snitch. What you got for me, snitch? Stop snitching, bitch. Dead. Wang Wang went to work. Yeah! Mule kick to the chest. One guy tried to scream for help, but he was dead. Wang Wang jumped on the Ferris wheel, found a zip line, and he was gone.
Meanwhile, the double agent Irma infiltrates the gang and sends the signal to Weng Weng. He then sneaks into the hideout where the bad guys are hiding drugs in loaves of bread. Weng Weng takes out the goons, takes away the drugs, and escapes. And the bad guys are pissed, and they suspect that there's a mole. And they think it might be Irma. So they try to follow her, but Double O helps her escape through a sneak attack. And then more goons attack him in his hotel room, but they're no match for Double O. He makes a daring escape, but not before getting some action from this random lady first. And then we boogie. Honestly, I have no idea how they got the rights to Boogie Wonderland by Earth, Wind & Fire. I guess because it's the 80s and it's hard to sue for copyright overseas, maybe? But here we are. And they're followed by the goons who figure out Irma is the mole. And they kidnap her and steal her communicator. Double O tries to rescue her but is captured by the bad guys. Eventually, he escapes and becomes a one-man wrecking crew. He uses blow darts, shooting skills, his iconic small man speed, and even the secret gun pen thing. And then we meet this one guy with an actual decent Filipino accent, still a bit Hispanic, but pwede na.
Tell me how we bring Irma to Mr. Giant. The big guy's dead, and none of us knows where the giant is.
And Double O tries to find their main lair. He goes through a series of different hideouts, fighting and killing goons, and meeting lots of women. If James Bond has Bond girls, I guess Weng Weng has Weng girls. And then we boogie again. Double O meets with Anna, this bar girl with a British accent for some reason.
Mr. Kaiser. The name. It strikes a bell.
And then this jealous drunk guy starts a bar fight. And they fight to the beat of the song. Pretty cool. And then they get it on. But that doesn't last. Weng Weng moves on to the next girl, who's this police reporter looking for information. They find the hideout and kick some butt. Or balls? But apparently it's not the main hideout, so he moves to the next one. He climbs in through the gate and attacks this dojo, where everyone has a sword, while he uses a knife. And he defeats everyone. And then finally, he makes it to the main lair. He uses his super sombrero to get a pretty good kill, but Irma isn't there. She's in this secret island, which I think looks like Taal. Is this Taal? Maybe. But Double O uses a tiny jetpack and flies there, where he meets his match. We find out that Mr. Giant is actually a fellow small person, who's just as fast as him, but seems stronger and taller. I guess he's closer to Peter Dinklage height. So this guy is the Shaq of little people. And after an intense fight, Weng Weng defeats Mr. Giant, and Chief Tony sends in reinforcements. Double O rescues Irma and Dr. Kohler, while the other agents defeat the henchmen, who are pretty incompetent and honestly really easy to defeat. And our heroes look like they're about to win, but they let their guard down and Irma gets hit. Mission accomplished, but Irma dies in Double O's arms, and the film ends with Weng Weng walking away from her grave. So that's the movie. For Your Height Only. This wasn't the first James Bond parody, and it wouldn't be the last. Years later, Austin Powers would come out, and Johnny English, and so much more. But what sets this film apart is its star. Something about the absurdity of a 2'9" tall James Bond is really funny, but it's his delivery that makes it iconic. It's how serious he takes the role, it's the stunts, the fighting, the action sequences. And it's why a filmmaker from Australia came all the way to the Philippines to find out what happened to Weng Weng. You can watch the documentary The Search for Weng Weng. I'll put the link somewhere in the description. But that's where I get a lot of the information I'm talking about in this video. And I learned that unfortunately, Weng Weng's story is a sad one about exploitation and greed. Weng Weng's real name is Ernesto or Estong de la Cruz.
Yung dating mga si malalaki hindi, biglang maliit lang talaga eh.
And just a few years before playing Tiny James Bond, Estong was living in poverty. But he loved action films and he studied karate, which led him to be discovered by the film producer Peter Cabales, a frustrated actor who cameos in his own movie right here, who named him Weng Weng after the strongest drink that the Philippines has to offer. It's what you get when you mix 6 different kinds of alcohol, so if a Filipino ever offers you a Weng Weng, you might want to say no. Peter and his wife Cora informally adopted Estong, and he would stay in their house when they had movies to shoot, and then he would go back to his life of poverty after. It's hard to say that he was a real guest in their home because when the couple had people over, they would make Estong hide. Peter's wife Cora was a relative of General Prospero Olivas, who at the time was the commanding general of the Philippine Constabulary Metrocom, or basically the police during martial law. And he was the Metrocom chief during the assassination of Ninoy Aquino. But when things with Marcos were getting a little dicey, he switched sides, joining the side of the people during the People Power Revolution, only to switch sides yet again 5 months after Cory took office, revealing his true colors by being part of this coup attempt, trying to bring Marcos back in power. He was accused of a lot of different violations, including graft, corruption, and unexplained wealth. But according to the documentary, it was through this connection that Cora was able to bring Estong to the Malacanang Palace. And it was said that he made the dictator Marcos laugh a lot. But he was especially liked by the dictator's son and future president, Bongbong Marcos. And if we believe the stories, Bongbong even authorized him to become a secret agent. And the Philippine Constabulary would use him for infiltration missions. His tiny frame allowed him to get into tight spots that regular soldiers couldn't get into. And if this is true, maybe that's what inspired Peter and Cora to create the 00 character. In any case, Estong was the star of the Manila International Film Festival in 1982. The festival was created by the First Lady Imelda Marcos to showcase and promote Filipino films to the world. The goal was to be the Cannes Film Festival of the East. And Hollywood stars like Brooke Shields, Jeremy Irons, and Priscilla Presley attended the festival. And the Philippines paid the bill, of course. But nobody bought the A-grade Filipino stories that they were selling. They bought Weng Weng. In the end, over 30 Filipino films were sold for international distribution. But For Your Eyes Only outsold all of them. The New York Times wrote, "The Philippines' most successful sales were distribution deals in West Germany, Malaysia, and France for 2 movies starring a 2-foot-tall Filipino known as Weng Weng." But just a few months before that, the Manila Film Center didn't exist. Construction started just 3 months before the date of the festival. So to meet this insane deadline, they had to employ thousands of workers, 3 shifts, and constant construction 24 hours a day. To get this done, safety was obviously compromised.
A week before the opening, the 3rd floor collapsed. They were rushing it, the cement was still not hardened, and it collapsed.
And at least 169 workers fell and were buried under quick-drying cement. A lot of videos online talk about this in depth. You can check those out if you want for the full story. I personally recommend Arya's video. I think it's very thorough. But what you do need to know is that even after these gruesome deaths, Imelda still wanted the project completed before the deadline. So exposed body parts were cut up, and construction continued on top of the deceased. So Brooke Shields, Priscilla Presley, and all the other attendees of the festival were literally dancing on the graves of these workers. And Estong, or Weng Weng, became the unofficial mascot of the festival. He did push-ups for the crowd and even kissed starlets. And by doing this, he scored the film distribution deals all over the world. The film even became the #1 movie at the Trinidad box office for 2 whole weeks, even beating out Indiana Jones, which at the time was the biggest movie in the entire world, making Weng Weng the first global star from the Philippines. But honestly, a lot of people didn't like that. They didn't want the international perception of the Filipino to be Weng Weng. He embodied all the things that Filipinos were trying to hide inside. Being dark, being small, maybe a little corny, a little cheesy. And that's what made him a star around the world.
As our dirty finger to Hollywood. We can do it. Here's our guy. No budget, piano wire, real stunts, no CGI. The freak came out. I am the guy.
But unfortunately for Estong, the peak of his film career was also the start of the downfall of the Marcos regime. The dictator Marcos was ousted in the 1986 People Power Revolution, which brought back democracy in the Philippines. And Cora's Tito becomes part of the failed coup 5 months after Cory took office. Peter and Cora leave the Philippines shortly after and then decide to quit the movie business altogether. And this was the end of Estong's film career. Peter and Cora made a lot of money from the Weng Weng films, but unfortunately, none of it went to Estong, and he ended up going back to a life of poverty. And in 1992, Estong passes away, young, alone, and forgotten. This was the same year that the Marcoses came back to the Philippines and Imelda ran for president. Estong never knew the impact that he had and continues to have on the world. An impact strong enough that it made this filmmaker travel all the way from Australia to the Philippines to make this documentary, The Search for Weng Weng by Andrew Leavold. And thanks to him, we can finally put the story of Estong's life to rest. But the stories of his films will live forever. Because today, Weng Weng is an icon of Philippine cinema. And he continues to bring joy to people around the world. More than 30 years after his death, his films are now considered cult classics and some of the best bad movies of all time. The epitome of so bad that it's good. And films that will keep people laughing for generations to come. So thank you so much for watching. If you like topics like this, you might want to join my free community. It's the Kultura't Kasaysayan Klub. Right now, it's mostly a newsletter all about Filipino film, history, and culture, but hopefully, it can be a place where we can discuss those things together. Go to nas.io/kkkph if you want to join. And if you do, there's a free film guide in it for you with all the films I've ever talked about and where to watch those films. I know I haven't posted in a really long time, but to be honest with you, it's just I make more money as a creator doing short form videos like Instagram, TikTok, so I'm more active on my content there. And I just want to give a big shout out to the Ryan Rambles channel members, Ashley Martellino, 12GMD, and Adorable PH. Thank you so much for sticking around even if I don't post a lot. You guys are the best. But till next time, peace and I love y'all.
Hoy mga Pinoy, ito na ang medisina, nagbabagong apoy, linagyan ng gasolina, kaya't tinatanong pa ba kung kanino at sino ang tiyak na puntahan sa kulturang Pilipino? Ako na ang sagot, ang dakilang gamot.